Hello, school children. I'm King Link, and today I'm going to be doing a last look and review of Danganronpa. Is that right? Well, at least I think that's the agreed upon way to say it. Danganronpa. So, that's what I'm going with. Now, if you like this review, consider subscribing. I'm working my way up to 100 subscribers, and I can use your help. If you've already subscribed, consider sharing my video. It would help me out. I don't do ads, I don't do anything else. I have my website that is also ad-free. That's all I ask. If you can give me a subscription, it would help me out. So, let's start with the spoiler warning that's also a review and not really a spoiler warning. The video portion of this review is kind of going to suck, and the reason is I'm not going to be playing the game properly, instead just looking around the early game. Yeah, I know it's not compelling, but there's a reason here. Danganronpa is a very interesting, unique game. It's a visual novel, but there's so many spoilers to the game, I don't want to give anything away here.
Problem?
Now, if you want to see all my spoilers, I do have a spoiler-filled article on my site that I'll link in the description. That's for people who already played the game, so I can gather my entire thoughts on the game and share them. But it's not really for first-timers, it's not at all. Be wise with that, Link. I mean, it's spoilers. You're going to ruin your entire experience if you read them, and that's what this game's about. The simple fact is, if this game sounds interesting, you should probably grab it. If it doesn't, don't. But I'd recommend avoiding Let's Plays or spoilers because this game is all about the story. And I'm not going to be the one who spoils you, but you can check the first look for the first 30 minutes of the game so you can see kind of the quote-unquote gameplay. In addition, I'm going to be avoiding every spoiler I can here. I'm not going to ruin the game, and the thing is, the game delivers everything in its story almost perfectly, and I'm going to let the Danganronpa do its job, and I'm going to just review the game in general. So let's just talk about a huge overview. What is Danganronpa about? Well, it's about 15 school kids who are locked in a school and can't seem to find a way out. They're pitted against each other in the ultimate survivor contest. If one of them kills another and doesn't get detected, they go free. Simple rules. And honestly, I think CBS is going to be going with that sooner rather than later because they're running out of ideas for Survivor. The new one's David and Goliath, and in the real tale, David hurts Goliath's eye and then Goliath ate David. Spoiler, giant wins. They don't tell you that version. In all seriousness though, this sounds like a great game. The problem is, that synopsis is actually the story, not the gameplay. Instead, the game is actually going through the story and then eventually coming to a trial and having to work with your classmate to prove who committed the murder and when it happened. So yeah, it's Ace Attorney more than PUBG. Honestly, that's fine, and I really find it interesting. Now, I won't go much more into the story here, but it does shine, except for maybe the ending. I have some reservations there, but I won't really talk about them here. Moving on, the graphics you can see here, and they're good for what the game is. The audio sounds weak though, and nothing appears to be narrated except for some emotional lines. But when you reach a trial, they are fully voiced and they're good. I'd say really good, they work and shine. But nothing else is voiced, and I understand the amount of work necessary, but it's a bit of a disappointment that you can't get a fully voiced game. So, let's talk about the rest of the gameplay. The majority of this time in this game is walking around, looking at stuff, or witnessing automated events. It's a storybook, that's the reason for the term visual novel. There is what is known as free time, and that's what you're seeing here. You can walk around, talk to your fellow classmates, or even befriend them. The game alludes to this loyalty or friendship mattering, but it doesn't. There's one ending to the game, and it game overs when you fail trials, but there's no change to the story overall. On the other hand, you get skills from them, and that's good, but it's not really as important as the game makes you think. So, eventually a murder is committed, of course, that's the point of the game. And the game switches from this free roaming to an investigation system. You have to go talk to everyone in the school, search all the crime scenes, and try to figure out what happened. The good news is this isn't a skill test. You won't advance the story until you find everything you need to. Then once you've found everything you're supposed to, the game will switch to the trial system. You'll all have to go down to a big courtroom, and all the students stand around a circular courtroom. And there's various activities that happen. They're all story driven, of course, and linear. The big one and the most unique in this game is the non-stop debate. And it's a system where someone will say something like, the dead person was Joe, and then someone else will say, Joe got beat to death with a wrench. Why the fuss? And so on. Yeah, why the fuss? So, of course, Joe isn't in the game, but this is just an example to show you kind of the process. The point is they're going to be talking quickly about the case, and you'll listen and find the contradictions. Maybe they're going to say something like, Joe was beat to death in the laundry room, but evidence can point that he was killed in the storeroom and dragged to the laundry room to confuse people. So that's a contradiction, let's say. You use this as a bullet in your magic lawyer gun. God, I wish courtrooms would have those, that would be so interesting. And you shoot the highlighted words that are wrong with your evidence. Now, there's one small issue here. In Ace Attorney, Phoenix Wright will yell, "Objection!" as will all the other characters. You know, it's awesome, it's one of the defining features of that game. Here, Makoto Naegi, the main character, will whimper out, "No, that's wrong." It's weak and it doesn't have the same gravitas as Objection. Now, that's how the non-stop debate works, and it's rather good. In fact, it's probably the best part of this game by far. Sadly, means there's other less best parts, or as English majors say, worse. Whatevs. So, there is a requirement at times to select from 3 choices. So it might be the assailant was, and the answers could be Joe, Steve, or Nick, and you figure it out. It's not awful, but it's not great. Just a simple understanding test if you understand the current situation of the trial or where they've reached. Now, the game gets a little bit worse at this point. You see, there's Hangman here. And how can you mess up Hangman? Well, Danganronpa has found a way. You don't choose any letter in the word, you actually have to choose the letters in order. This is a simple but pointless exercise if you know the word, but it's annoying and frustrating if you don't. A couple words are poorly chosen, and overall, it's not a fun feature of the trial. The fact that you can't look at evidence and rehear the questions make it worse. I would actually say this is one of the major problems I have with the game. Finally, there's the bullet time battle, and these are the DDR-inspired gunplay sections. Yeah, what does that mean? Well, it's not as exciting as you think. It's actually you hit A to select statements, Y to shoot, and X to reload in time with a beat. It's complicated, stupid, and overall not that interesting. Worse, it feels like it's shoehorned into most cases, and overall it's not a great part of the game. And honestly, that's the trial system. There's a little bit more, and I'll let you discover it over the course of the game. The one piece that I'm not 100% sure on is the flashback bullets, but I'll talk about that in the written review if you really want to hear more about that. Beyond that, we go into the spoiler territory, and I'm going to avoid that here. But let me sum up a bunch of this game. The story here is what you're going to come for. You will play 20 hours and it's all story. There's no real gameplay outside of the trial, and the trials are all story driven, so that's what you're playing it for. If you don't like a story driven games, definitely avoid this one. If you do love story, that's good, because the story here is solid, and I really enjoyed the experience of playing the game and following along with the story. I honestly think this is one of the best stories I've played recently, and it has a lot of interesting features. The ending, like I said, has some issues, especially that final case. It's more an annoyance than anything wrong with the story, but overall I like 99% of the story. Though, the game does leave a few plot holes, and I'll be honest, I wasn't happy about that. Either give me a full story or don't, but Danganronpa had left some big important facts out of the game that should have been included. There's nothing here that ruins the story, but at the end you're like, did I miss something, or did I miss a conversation? No, you didn't. And unfortunately, searching online gives spoilers for later games in the series, so I recommend not doing that for anything in this game either. And that's a shame too, because now you're locked out of a way to talk about the game. Still, there are some negatives here, and I will really hate a couple pieces of the game. I talk more about everything in the spoiler review, of course, but you should wait till you finish the game before that. But I will give Danganronpa a score here based on everything. It's 3.5 out of 5. Like I said, I really enjoyed this game, and it's worth playing for the story alone. but it's only worth playing for the story, and even there you're only going to get one playthrough out of it. If you don't expect much more than that, you shouldn't be disappointed. I mean, it's a visual novel with an excellent trial system attached. It could have been much worse, and honestly, the writing is better than I could ever dream. So, yeah, Danganronpa has been judged. You can see where that reference came from Abduction. Okay, whatever. So what's next? I'm thinking we're going to be looking at Civ 6 coming up next. Do I want to play one more turn? We'll see. I'm King Link, and thank you for listening. I will see you next time.